Mark Carney has been in the UAE promising to bring home billions of dollars of investment for Canada, which we can all consider to be blood money. This is, again, a complete betrayal of the whole Canada First thing. Going around and supporting the UAE isn't just something that he's pulled out of a hat here. The UAE is a strategic partner for America. They host a whole ton of American bases, probably the most American bases outside the continental US. And of course, they are a huge supporter of Israel and a huge hindrance of Palestinian freedom. But what a lot of people might not know is that the UAE is not just assisting in Israel's genocide in Palestine. They're carrying out their own fucking genocide in Sudan. The situation in Sudan has been horrific for several years now, and unfortunately, because of honestly just racism, it hasn't been at the front of any news stories at all. I think people have just become so used to seeing Africans struggling that it's just kind of become the status quo. It's just a throwaway situation. But these things happen for a reason, and Mark Carney is now benefiting from these horrific things happening and hoping to bring some of that money over to Canada. So when we see these whole terrorist movements spreading around the globe and we all wonder why these things are coming to the West, look no further than bullshit acts like this. The UAE does not have one active gold mine, not one. But they are somehow one of the world's biggest gold exporters. Big mystery? I don't think so. They get all that gold from Sudan. They fund what's called the RSF, the Rapid Fire Support Team, whatever. They're fucking terrorists. They're headed by the guy who has a nickname Hemeti, and they are fighting off against the actual Sudanese government, the real military. No one in this story is a good guy, but there is definitely a bad guy, and the bad guy is Hemeti and the RSF. They were a terrorist militia faction before they became a full-blown economy in Sudan. And now they are the biggest exporters of stolen Sudanese gold, sending it straight to the UAE via Chad. Canada has been seen supporting this with our own weapons showing up in photos verified to be Canadian weapons in the hands of these Sudanese fighters. So what are we doing here? We're not doing anything to keep ourselves safe. We're not doing anything to increase stability in that region. We're going to still continue to come home and complain about, immigration and the global terrorist threat and blah, 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 blah. We are the global terrorist threat. We are the ones going there, funding the terrorism, paying for the terrorism, paying for all of this stuff. The savagery in Sudan is so horrific, you can see it from space. Okay? Google Earth images show just pools and pools of blood and bodies all over Sudan. And recently, that situation has got incredibly worse. The capital of Darfur, Al-Fashir, has been surrounded by RSF forces, and they're basically just closing in on the civilians. Men and boys are being raped by the thousands, women by the tens of thousands. They're being sold into slave markets, and more than anything, they're being sent into the gold mines so that they can do for the UAE what other African countries are forced to do for France, which is steal their own resources from their own country and hand it over to people who feel superior to Africans, like the French, like the fucking UAE Arabs. It is amazing that they claim to be Muslim, that they claim that they walk around in all of these formal Muslim garb and, talk about modesty and women and blah, 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 blah. They are savage murderers, no better than Israelis. No better than Israelis. Instead of going around and buying the things that they need, instead of going around and building commerce and building trade and buying the fucking resources that you need, they have seen fit to make themselves the new colonizers. They seen fit to just go there and get blood gold the way there was a blood diamond rush and still is. And Canada Canada's prime minister on TV talking about Canadian values. What are Canadian values? Dead Sudanese kids? Dead Gazan children? Because that's literally all I see you supporting. It was elbows up for a while. Oh, fuck the States. Get away from the States. He lied. He was a liar. He lied. We've been fooled. We've been had. Why do you think so many conservative MPs have a hard-on to cross over to Mark Carney's side? Because they love his conservative bullshit. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. And I don't mean millions and I don't mean tens of. I'm saying hundreds of billions of dollars have been committed to the American military-industrial complex by way of Mark Carney's amazing bill. By his nation-building project bill. Are we going to have high-speed rail? No. Are we going to increase, are we going to beef up Canadian schools so that we don't have to constantly import STEM talent? No. Are our hospitals going to look better in a year or two? No. Quebec is hemorrhaging doctors are coming to Ontario. We're creating crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis. The cost of living is out of the roof. This is going to be one of the most depressing holiday seasons this country has seen in my entire lifetime, in living memory, I think. And here he is, rubbing shoulders with genociders, with the UAE, promising to bring billions of that blood money here to Canada to invest. Hooray! We should all be super, super excited, I think. This is absolute shenanigans. Canada needs another election, and it sucks that it's going to cost a bunch of money, but oh well, Canada needs another election, and we need a proper opposition. Because the only people who seem to be opposing Mark Carney is Elizabeth May after she rolled out the red carpet for him, and Pierre Poilievre, but in a fake way that he must think that we're all stupid. This pipeline is going to get built when? Never? So you don't oppose the pipeline. You love the pipeline. You're just like, build it faster, fuck up environments faster, screw the indigenous people over faster. There is no opposition in this country. Yves Engler is running to be the head of the NDP, and they are doing everything they can to prevent him from doing that because he's anti-Zionist. Canadians need to wake the fuck up. The moves that Mark Carney is making globally are not for the benefit of Canada. It is not for the benefit of Canadians. It is for the benefit of America's military-industrial complex and for Israel. Because what's been happening for the last 80 or to 100 years is America has been going around fucking up the Middle East in order to make sure that Israel can just do what it wants. Israel is a petulant little bully that lives there and just calls their big brother America to come mess things up whenever they need to. And UAE is one of the countries that's agreed to play ball with America and Israel. And that's why everyone's turned a blind eye while they go and rape and pillage all of Sudan. And Mark Carney, instead of saying, this is nonsense, this is shenanigans, we don't support this, he's been absolutely zip about it. He says in an interview that he brought up the topic of the Sudan civil war. Civil war? There is no fucking civil war in Sudan. Where are the weapons coming from? These are not Sudanese weapons. Who's funding these people? Where is the gold going? This is an external problem being laid on the Sudanese people, and they are dying by the tens of thousands. And there's going to be a time in Canada and the rest of the world where everyone's going to say, oh my gosh, how did this happen? Where was everybody like? Meanwhile, we have Muslim content creators like, oh, I can't wait to go visit Dubai. I can't wait to go visit Dubai. It's slave labor built off of people that look just like you guys who are going there. I don't know, man. Mark Carney has been such a colossal disappointment. I voted for him. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I voted against Pierre Poilievre, but for Mark Carney. But you know what? Seeing what I'm seeing now, I wish I just stayed home. This is why we have such an apathetic voting base, because you get to choose between shit and other shit. There's just like... Anyhow, keep your eyes open. Mark Carney, UAE, helping to fund the genocide in Sudan by making deals with the UAE and making their blood gold really, really profitable. Really, really boosting that industry. So pay attention to that when you hear about what Canadian values are. And when you hear about immigration exploding in places like America and Canada, make sure you remember who is destabilizing all these places. because Americans are trying to deport as many Venezuelans as they want. But Canada and America are over there in the Caribbean just blowing up Venezuelan boats and destabilizing their government. Where are those people going to go? They're just like you and me. They're just Venezuelan. They want a normal life. They want a regular job. They want to raise their kids, send them to school, just live a normal life. Live off of the resources that exist in their country the way we do. We don't see other people coming in here, fucking clearing out the boreal rainforest and selling Canadian lumber while we're all enslaved. They buy it from us because that's what civilized countries do. But we don't want to participate in civilized society outside of rhetoric. We want to talk about being civilized, wear our nice suits on TV, and then go and rape and pillage the entire world for their resources, and then act shocked and aghast when all of those countries' people show up at your doorstep wanting to see what you've done with all of their resources. You know, nice highways and nice skyscrapers, nice cars. I wonder where all that stuff came from. It's their right to come and see it. So shut up about immigration if you don't have a problem with what we're doing. Shut your dirty mouth about immigration if you have nothing to say about what's going on in Venezuela, what's going on in Sudan, what's going on in the Middle East, because this is your problem. What happens there is going to come here. You saw the war in Iraq. A lot of us were too young, but we read about and saw the regret on everyone's faces now that we're older about the war in Iraq. And now that's happening here, but this time in our hemisphere, right here in the continental United States. And so don't be surprised when all of that bullshit comes here. Anyhow, we're going to leave it there. Bread in captivity, out.